What if I told you that 80% of your success comes from just 20% of your efforts? And what if you could focus on that 20% to make your life easier and more productive? Welcome to the world of the 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch. The 80-20 Principle is a groundbreaking book that shows how to achieve more by doing less. Richard Koch, a successful entrepreneur and investor, explains how this principle applies to business, work, relationships, and even happiness. The book is based on the Pareto principle, discovered by economist Vilfredo Pareto in the 19th century. The 80-20 rule means that 80% of outcomes come from 20% of inputs. For example, 80% of profits come from 20% of customers. 80% of your happiness comes from 20% of your activities. Part 1. The Principle in Theory. 1. What is the 80-20th principle? The 80-20 principle, also known as the Pareto principle, is a universal rule that suggests 80% of outcomes result from 20% of causes. This imbalance exists in many areas of life, from business to personal activities. 80% of the world's wealth is owned by 20% of the population. 80% of customer complaints come from 20% of customers. 80% of your happiness comes from 20% of your relationships. By focusing on the 20% that really matters, you can achieve greater results with less effort. 2. Origins of the 80-20th principle. The principle was first discovered by Vilfredo Pareto, an Italian economist, in the late 19th century. Pareto observed that 20% of the population owned 80% of the land in Italy. Later, this pattern was found to apply in many other areas, forming the foundation of the 80-20 principle. Engaging visual idea. Show a simple chart with Pareto's observation. A small bar representing 20% of the population owning a large portion of wealth. 3. Why does the 80-20 principle work? The imbalance exists because of natural inefficiencies in the world. Resources, efforts, and results are rarely distributed equally. For example, in a classroom, 20% of students might achieve 80% of the top grades because of their focus, habits, or understanding. Interesting fact. Richard Koch emphasizes that the 80-20th ratio is not fixed. It can be 70/30ths, 90/10ths, or another disproportionate split. The key idea is that a small portion of inputs creates the majority of outputs. 4. How to identify the vital 20%. Koch explains that most of us waste time and energy on things that don't matter. To apply the principle, look for the vital few. What are the 20% of actions, people, or activities that bring you the most success or joy? Ignore the trivial many. What are the 80% of things that don't produce significant results? Example, if you're a student, studying 20% of the key concepts may help you answer 80% of exam questions. 5. The benefits of understanding the principle. Koch argues that embracing the 80-20 principle can transform your mindset. You'll realize that not all efforts are equally important. You'll stop trying to do everything and start focusing on what matters most. Real-life applications. In business, focus on the products that generate the most revenue. In personal growth, identify the habits or routines that yield the most improvement in your life. The 80-20 principle is not just a rule, it's a mindset. By focusing on the vital few and ignoring the trivial many, you can achieve more with less effort. Think about your own life. What are the 20% of things that bring you 80% of your success or happiness? Part 2. Applying the 80-20 principle in business. 1. The core idea, 80-20ths in business. The 80-20 principle reveals that in most businesses, 80% of profits come from 20% of customers or products. 80% of problems come from 20% of issues. By recognizing this pattern, businesses can focus their energy on the 20% that drives most of their success and eliminate or deprioritize the remaining 80%. 2. Identifying the vital few in business. A. Customers. Not all customers are equally valuable. A small percentage of customers typically generate most of a company's revenue. Businesses can focus on these high-value customers by providing them with better service or premium products, understanding their needs deeply to retain them. For example, a retail company may find that 20% of its customers account for 80% of its sales. By focusing on this group, the company can grow its revenue with less effort. B. Products or services. Similarly, a small percentage of products or services often account for the majority of sales or profits. Businesses should identify top-performing products, optimize production or marketing efforts around these products. Consider discontinuing underperforming products. Example, an e-commerce company might discover that a single category, like electronics, contributes 80% of its sales. By allocating more resources to this category, they can maximize efficiency and revenue. C. Tasks and operations. Many tasks or processes in a business contribute little to overall success. The key is to identify the 20% of tasks that lead to 80% of results and focus on those. Automate, outsource, or eliminate the trivial tasks. Example, a startup may find that 20% of its marketing campaigns bring in most of the leads. Instead of spreading resources thinly, they can focus on scaling those specific campaigns. 3. Solving problems using the 80/20 principle. 80% of problems come from 20% of causes. Identify the key causes of recurring issues. Solve those specific problems to reduce inefficiencies. For example, in a manufacturing company, 20% of suppliers might be causing 80% of delays. By addressing this minority, the company can significantly improve its operations. 4. Case study, real-life application of the 80/20 rule. You can include a simple case study to make this part more engaging. Case study example. A software company found that 80% of its revenue came from just 20% of its enterprise clients. By focusing on building stronger relationships with these clients, e.g. offering customized solutions, the company increased its overall revenue by 50% without needing to acquire new customers. 5. Benefits of applying the 80/20 principle in business. Increased efficiency. Focus on what works and eliminate what doesn't. Higher profits. Prioritize high-performing areas to maximize revenue. Reduce stress. By narrowing your focus, you can avoid feeling overwhelmed. If you run a business or work in one, take a moment to reflect. What is the 20% of your customers' products or tasks that generate 80% of your results? Focus your energy there and watch your business grow. Part 3. Applying the 80/20 principle in personal life. 1. The core idea, 80/20 in personal life. The 80/20 principle isn't just for businesses. It applies to our personal lives as well. 80% of your happiness comes from 20% of your activities or relationships. 80% of your personal progress comes from 20% of your habits or efforts. By identifying and focusing on the 20% that truly matters, you can live a more fulfilled and meaningful life. 2. Applying the principle to key areas of life. A. Time management. Not all tasks are equally important. A small percentage of your efforts produce the majority of your results. Focus on activities that align with your goals and make the biggest difference. Steps to apply. Identify your high-value activities, the 20%. Examples: studying key topics, exercising, networking, or meditating. Reduce or eliminate low-value activities, the 80%. Examples: scrolling on social media, attending unnecessary meetings, or procrastinating. Ask yourself, what is the one task I can do today that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? B. Relationships. Not all relationships are equally fulfilling. A few key relationships bring the majority of your happiness and emotional support. Focus on nurturing these high-value relationships. Steps to apply. Identify the 20% of people in your life who truly matter: family, close friends, mentors. Spend more time and energy on these relationships. Reduce or let go of toxic or unproductive relationships, the 80%. For example, instead of spreading yourself thin by attending every social event, prioritize meaningful one-on-one time with your closest friends or loved ones. See health and well-being. A few key habits often determine the majority of your physical and mental health. Focus on building these high-impact habits and eliminate unhealthy ones. Key habits, the vital 20%. Regular exercise, eating nutritious meals, and getting enough sleep. Practical tip: instead of trying to overhaul your entire lifestyle, focus on small, consistent actions that yield significant results. For example, walking for 30 minutes a day can have a huge impact on your health. Learning and personal growth. A small percentage of the skills you learn or the content you consume will drive most of your growth. Focus on learning the 20% of skills or knowledge that align with your goals and interests. Steps to apply. Identify the most valuable skills for your career or passions. Spend your time learning and practicing those skills. Eliminate time spent on less relevant or low-impact learning. For example, if you're a programmer, mastering one in-demand programming language may bring more success than dabbling in 5 different ones. 3. Letting go of the trivial many. Richard Koch emphasizes the importance of saying no to unimportant things. Avoid overcommitting or spending time on tasks, events, or relationships that don't bring real value. Simplify your life by focusing on the vital few that matter most. For real-life example, applying the 80-20 rule in daily life. Case study. Imagine you're feeling overwhelmed with your daily schedule. You realize that only 20% of your tasks, like finishing key projects at work or spending time with family, make 80% of the difference in your life. By cutting out low-value activities, e.g. excessive email checking, endless scrolling on your phone, you free up time and energy to focus on what truly matters. 5. Benefits of applying the 80-20 principle in personal life. More happiness. Spend time on activities and relationships that bring joy. Less stress. Eliminate unnecessary tasks and commitments. Greater fulfillment. Focus on meaningful goals and habits. The 80-20 principle can simplify your life and help you focus on what truly matters. Take a moment to reflect. What are the 20% of activities, relationships, or habits that bring 80% of your happiness and success? Prioritize those and let go of the rest. Part 4. Overcoming the myths of balance. 1. The myth of equality. What the myth is: many people believe that all tasks, people, or resources are equally important. This leads to the assumption that equal effort should be distributed across everything. Reality, according to the 80-20 principle: life is inherently unequal. Some activities, relationships, or tasks matter far more than others. The key is to embrace this imbalance and focus on the few things that yield the greatest results. Example: spending equal time on all tasks may leave you overworked, while prioritizing high-value tasks can lead to success with less effort. 2. The fear of letting go. Why we resist change. People often feel obligated to complete everything on their to-do list or maintain every relationship. Letting go of low-value tasks or connections feels like losing control. Solution: shift your mindset. Realize that saying no to the trivial many means saying yes to the vital few. Start small. Eliminate one unproductive task or say no to one unnecessary obligation. 3. The false belief in hard work. What the myth is: many people believe that working harder automatically leads to better results. Society glorifies being busy, even if that busyness isn't productive. Reality according to the 80-20 principle. Success comes not from working harder, but from working smarter. Focus your energy on the 20% of tasks that truly matter. Example, instead of working late hours on low-priority tasks, spend focused time on a high-impact project and achieve better results with less stress. 4. The illusion of balance. What the myth is. People often strive for a perfectly balanced life where everything gets equal attention: work, family, health, hobbies. Reality according to the 80-20 principle. A perfectly balanced life is neither possible nor desirable. Instead, prioritize the 20% of areas that give you 80% of fulfillment. Practical tip: focus intensely on what matters most for a period of time and let go of the idea that everything needs equal attention every day. 5. How to overcome these myths. Step 1. Embrace the imbalance. Accept that life is naturally unbalanced. Instead of resisting, use it to your advantage. Example, if 80% of your happiness comes from 20% of activities, double down on those activities. Step 2. Learn to say no. Politely but firmly decline requests or commitments that don't align with your goals. Example, say no to a low-priority meeting to focus on a high-value project. Step 3. Focus on results, not effort. Measure success by outcomes, not by how hard or long you work. Example, spending 2 hours on focused study can be more effective than 8 hours of distracted effort. 6. Real-life example. Breaking the myths. Scenario. A busy professional tries to balance everything: work, family, fitness, hobbies, but feels burnout. Applying the 80-20 principle. They identify that 20% of their work tasks generate 80% of their impact. They delegate or postpone low-priority tasks. They focus their free time on meaningful family activities instead of spreading themselves thin. Result: less stress, more meaningful relationships, and better work outcomes. 7. Key takeaways. Life isn't balanced, and it doesn't have to be. Focus on the small percentage of tasks, people, or activities that bring the greatest results. Let go of the idea that you need to do everything or work harder to succeed. Life isn't fair, and that's a good thing. By embracing imbalance and focusing on the 20% that truly matters, you can achieve success and happiness with less effort. Reflect on your own life. What myths are holding you back, and how can you overcome them? Part 5. Taking action with the 80-20 principle. 1. Start with reflection. Identify your vital few. The first step in applying the 80-20 principle is to analyze your life. Ask yourself, what are the 20% of my activities that produce 80% of my results? Which 20% of relationships bring me 80% of my happiness? What 20% of habits contribute to 80% of my growth? Take 10 minutes to write down your most impactful tasks, habits, and relationships. Highlight the top 20% that matter most. 2. Eliminate the trivial many. Once you've identified the 20% that matters, the next step is to reduce or eliminate the 80% that doesn't. Examples: delegate or automate repetitive tasks. Say no to commitments or events that don't align with your priorities. Limit time spent on distractions like social media or unproductive meetings. Practical tip: use tools like a time audit to track how you spend your day and identify areas to cut back. 3. Focus on leverage. Do more with less. Koch emphasizes the importance of focusing on leverage, doing more by focusing your energy where it has the greatest impact. Steps to apply. Identify high-leverage activities. Example: in your career, focus on the tasks that directly advance your goals, like completing high-priority projects or networking with key individuals. Schedule these activities first. Block time for your vital tasks before dealing with less important ones. 4. Simplify your life. Simplification is a core aspect of the 80-20th principle. By reducing clutter, both physical and mental, you can focus more on what truly matters. Practical applications. Declutter your home. Focus on the 20% of items you use regularly. Streamline your finances. Focus on the few expenses or investments that bring the greatest returns. Simplify decision-making. Use the principle to prioritize fewer but more impactful choices. 5. Track and measure your results. Success with the 80/20 principle requires consistent reflection and adjustment. Regularly track your progress to ensure you're focusing on the right 20%. Tips for tracking. Use a journal to reflect on your achievements and note which efforts yielded the most results. Analyze your progress monthly to identify new areas for improvement. 6. Build habits around the 80/20 principle. The principle works best when it becomes a habit. Start small and integrate it into your daily routine. Daily actions to try. Every morning, identify the top 1 to 2 tasks that will bring the most results for the day. Spend at least 80% of your time on these tasks. Reflect at the end of the day. Did your actions align with your priorities? 7. Overcoming challenges. Koch acknowledges that applying the 80/20 principle isn't always easy. Challenge. Resistance to change. Solution. Start small. Apply the principle to one area of your life, like time management. Challenge. Fear of letting go. Solution. Focus on the long-term benefits of simplifying your life and prioritizing high-impact activities. 8. Real-life example. Applying the 80/20 principle. Scenario. A working parent feels overwhelmed trying to balance work, family, and personal time. Application. Identify the 20% of work tasks that bring the greatest value and delegate the rest. Focus family time on high-quality, meaningful activities like game nights or outdoor outings. Eliminate unnecessary commitments to free up time for self-care. Result. Reduce stress and more time for what truly matters. 9. Key takeaways for action. Start small. Apply the 80/20 principle to just one area of your life, work, relationships, or health. Track progress. Regularly evaluate your results and adjust as needed. Stay focused. Continuously remind yourself of the vital few and let go of the trivial many. Imagine a life where you no longer feel overwhelmed, where your energy is spent on what truly matters, and where every effort you make brings meaningful results. The 80/20 principle isn't just a strategy, it's a mindset, a way of living that empowers you to focus on the few things that bring the most joy, success, and fulfillment. Most of us spend too much time on things that don't truly matter, while the vital few go unnoticed. But it doesn't have to be this way. Today, you have the power to change that. Take a moment to reflect. What is the 20% in your life that brings you the most happiness, love, and success? It's time to stop chasing balance and start embracing focus. Simplify your life. Prioritize what's truly important and let go of the rest. You deserve a life where less is more, a life where you're not just busy, but truly fulfilled. If this message resonates with you, take your first step today. Share in the comments one area of your life where you'll apply the 80/20 principle. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Together, let's create a community of focused, purpose-driven individuals. Thank you for watching. Remember, life isn't about doing everything, it's about doing the right things. Until next time, take care, focus on the vital few, and stay inspired.